Penta. Okay, so this is Penta. Okay, before I start analyzing, I just want to maybe quickly draw some levels and charts. So when I first looking at the Penta, I think is somewhere around there. I saw that it's probably a signal for me to get in, but my entry at that point was purely based on this little structure. Okay, so I noticed that some of you are probably a bit confused. Like, when do we look at the whole structure? Like how long is the duration that we need to look back? Whether it's a few months or a few years or maybe it's half a year. Why sometimes you just look at the small portion? Why sometimes you look at the big structure like this? Okay, so let me quickly just draw up the levels. So let me change to thicker line. So this is what I will do when I first approach the chart. So firstly, I will just zoom out to give me a holistic view, a long-term view. So definitely this is uptrend. So sell down, uptrend breakout, going up, forming another accumulation, climax run, followed by this. So this is a change of character. So while the price is unfolding, I will draw up like this. So that is something, sorry. Okay. So when the change of character show up, so this is what I will do. I will just draw this up, and that is the support level, and I anticipate a range bound condition, sort of like between 5 to 6.8. And subsequently, we notice that this level doesn't really hold. So there we go. This is just we can't really just draw up like this, and then eventually it's sort of until here. So why I think that is a bullish case there. So you can just refer back to my YouTube video where I point this out. I think it's somewhere around there. So it's just few candle forming. So first of all, when I analyze or cover this trade, it's just not the very long term trade because I just rely on this small portion. So to me, this is a downtrend. We have a selling climax, climatic volume, increasing of the supply, and subsequently we have a range bound condition. Okay, so like this, and right after that, we definitely see that supply is decreasing. So supply is decreasing, and we did not get any lower low. This is an encouraging sign. And after that, look at the up volume here. So this is the volume come in, but eventually I don't really see very good results. It sort of did not overcome the resistance level. So eventually it still have another reaction, but right after that, I saw this. So again, some aggressive demand push the price up and definitely break out the localized resistance level and eventually attempt to break out. So if I zoom in here, so let me zoom in. So you can see that there is quite a few attempts. First attempt, second attempt, third attempt, maybe fourth attempt. Try to break out of this big bearish bar right there. So this is quite an important concept. It's called the supply zone. So that's the climatic volume. So quite a few attempts, at least 3 or 4 attempts, want to come in above or break out, but it's just not successful. For a bearish case, what I would like to anticipate is some form of the upthrust with a spike of the supply and then with bearish results. But by looking at these few candles alone, I definitely see supply is decreasing, and definitely this is a sign of the supply absorption. So that's why at that time I am relatively bullish for Penta. Any time of the breakout action and commit above could just become a good long entry with a stop tight stop can just below the breakout bar, or maybe just below the swing low level or the supply absorption area. So after that, when I took this trade after the breakout, my target or my objective is somewhere around probably maybe 5.5, just based on the trend line alone. So if I draw up this trend line, we can see that it's probably going to hit that after the breakout as a first target, and it's quite consistent with the localized breakdown area. So somewhere around there, 5.5, 5.6. So that's my first target. And my intent is also for a relatively short-term trade, because it's just based on this structure alone, rather than I took this whole chunk as a structure. So the structure is relatively small, so I think it's quite make a lot of sense to just have a short-term swing trade with a relatively natural target at a resistance level, about 5.5 or 5.6. So you can see that right after that, it certainly hit around 5.5 and or even 5.4. It sort of just consolidate around that. Okay, but it did not really go all the way back down. In fact, what we see is a supply decrease, and I think this is quite a good sign. So even though you can take some profit at the resistance level, but you can still ride it up, and you can use a trailing stop to trail the stop until we see some form of the unusual price behavior. Well, for this, definitely I see supply increases, but the bearish results is not very significant. Okay, so this is again not that significant, but if you trail the stop, you're probably very close to the stop right there, about 5.555 or 5.6. So could stop you out, depend on how you manage it. So right after the earning, I think it just have a gap down action to react this type of the earning. So for the short term trade, definitely this you should get out already, because whether you trail it below this candle or below this candle, that should stop you out. Okay, we just got a question from Dave. Based on Penta example, when do we decide take a smaller structure view or bigger? Okay, sure. Right, for this, for the big structure, where is the big structure at the moment? I mean, we do have a high, lower high, lower high, lower low, lower low. So it's probably in a downslooping range. So until we see some relatively established structure, we can't really rely on the big structure, because even at this point of time, I still don't really know how the structure will develop. Probably for the bullish case, I will assume that it's probably going to develop into some kind of the cup and handle, some form of the rounding bottom structure. That is just my anticipation. And also, if I look at the supply, um, well, at the moment is it doesn't really look threatening, so I will still have a bullish bias. But in terms of the big structure, definitely I can't really have a good analysis or a good structure for Penta at this moment. I just need to wait for more time for the price to develop. So definitely what we can rely on is just a portion of the structure, a very small structure. So even until now, if any of you still holding it, I would say this sort of the structure is probably still valid. We're getting maybe a major sign of strength rally followed by a major pullback. But that is what I will do and holding. But if it just keep going down and break below, then probably it will just stop me out. So I will still rely on this smaller structure for a small swing trade. So that's the trade, small swing trade. Just catch a one swing up, and if I trail the stop, that will stop me out already. Okay, and looking at the reaction, definitely there is some form of the supply come in. but not that bearish at the moment. So just by looking at the structure, all right. So that's Penta, and that's how I manage the trade. But for long-term position or for take a big structure, I would say if we want to assume that this is a reaccumulation range, then we probably still need to wait for quite some time until the whole structure is mature, and this will be the whole courses built, and then we certainly can expect quite a high projection to the upside. All right, so that's Penta.